Listen, this guy has blown up my phone. And I want to get this other message out. Like, I want to just react to this thing live. Hold on. Let's just call my voicemail. Because he gave me a very detailed voicemail. Let's see what he has to say.
Michael-Tario, I sent you all my contact, and if you could call me back, I'd appreciate it. This is Michael-Tario, I sent you all my contact information. You didn't leave a phone number down there, although I know Victoria has your phone number, but I prefer not to go through third parties in contacting you to protect Victoria, and if you don't think she needs protection, you don't know the situation, so I would suggest that you call me directly, and I'll tell you why I'm not working through Victoria. I never have worked through Victoria. I don't intend to work through Victoria. However, she is a dear friend, but there's some things you should know, which you don't know. So that being said, sorry, if I was accusing you of being interrupting and being abrupt, because I'm sure you could have said the same thing about me. But anyway, I reached out to some of my contacts. They don't know, they haven't heard from you. I sent the documents that you sent me about your background information, which is basically some bank statements and your resume. I mean, if I was supposed to see anything else, I didn't get it. I think you sent 4 copies of your resume and 1 copy of a bank statement, 2010, and maybe some of a corporation or something like that. Later, which I guess that's helpful. I mean, it starts, and I think you're the Temple family that I know other people from St. Mary's. There is a Temple family there. You must be related in some way, shape, or form to them, which are part of SSPX, although you said you weren't part of SSPX, but the Temple family is part of SSPX, so if you're part of that family, I did a little bit of homework and research, not enough though, and I'm willing to help you get to the right people, but I need to talk with you before I do that. And I can give you all the contact information. There's a couple other people you might want to reach out to too, like Randy Engel. I mentioned Elizabeth Ure, I mentioned Roman Catholic Faithful, maybe Michael Mann from the Remnant. I don't know what the basis, other than SSPX versus Church Militant, what's your basis of not trusting Church Militant? I mean, I don't trust SSPX. Third game.
I don't know if y'all heard that, but apparently he did whatever research he could find out, and I'm the only Temple family here. That's what's so weird about this. And then when the first thing he wants to yell at me about again when we get on the phone, after leaving that message, I never got any of this stuff. That's so crazy. I didn't get any return attachments. I just had his name. And he said, oh, that's my information. Did I give him my resume, my ID? He said some bank statements and some corporate stuff. Yeah, put the bank accounts where they go. That's really all I'm trying to say. I mean, but I'm trying to work with, these are the people who, these are the updates. And this is some of the frustration that people have been working with these past couple months. We're going to get the cryptocurrency linked up with the Federal Postal Court. And it's going to be linked up with the Vatican because it's the only way to make the bank statements. But it takes phone calls and months and waiting for people. It's just a thing. It's a thing we have to do. And some parties, I'm not going to put on here, obviously. But this is the people that the parties are choosing to represent themselves. And I'm going to call this guy back and see what we can get going on. Hey, I read your
Uh,
stuff. I read your stuff. It just said to call you. Was there attachments I was supposed to get?
no. Did you listen to
Oh,
the voicemail?
yeah. I listened to the voicemail. It was very up.
Okay, good.
I think we're on the.
Good.
I think we. I think we're good. Sorry, my dog's
Okay,
in the
good.
background. It's a stormy
Good.
night. It's like getting all the animals worked up.
Is it? Are you seriously getting some like tornado type weather or what's? I
Um,
know 'cause
it's just
my sister
storms.
my sister lives in Lawrence, Kansas, and she was a professor with her husband at KU, so I know the area pretty well.
Oh yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
it just looks like normal storms. They say St.
Oh,
Mary's can't get hit by a tornado. Apparently, it has a blessing.
that's good.
That's the
That's,
rumor here. So I think we got off on the wrong foot. Who are like what? What's your group? Your group just represents victims. You're like an
yeah,
advocacy group,
yeah, yeah.
like a law
Well,
firm, or
I
like
know a bunch of different advocate groups.
is this like
So
a
we're kind.
social media thing? I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I mean like in what avenue?
No, not a social media group. No, 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 no. We're just, well, I mean, if you want to listen to the story, it started a long time ago. I met a lawyer whose son was raped, and he was his son at 6, 7 years old by a principal, Catholic principal, nun, and a pastor in a church here in the Chicago area. I'm not in
That's
Chicago right now. I'm in Rhode Island, but I'm in the
that's
Chicago area.
scandalizing.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. It was so
Unbelievable.
demonstrating. It was so. Now his godfather was the Motorola guy. He was the owner and founder of Motorola. You know, this is a huge, huge company, global company.
But wait, they're at Catholic school, but they're one of these big globalists.
No, yeah,
Yeah, the
owner
nun.
the owner of Motorola is Catholic. I don't know if you knew that or
I
not.
did
Yeah, of
not.
course.
That was actually a surprise. I was just making sure I was linking that together. But the Domino's guys is a Catholic.
Yeah, the Domino's guys, you're right, was a Catholic. Yep, he
Yeah.
was a Catholic too. But this is so. Let me finish the story here, so you'll see how this fits together. So they wanted to get justice from the situation, obviously, because the kid was sorely damaged. I mean, he was butt fucked and rectally, you know, abused, and I mean, and they threatened to kill him and his family if he said anything. 7-year-old boy. So the Motorola guy gets all this information. I'm going to make it short for you so you can figure this out. They gather all the information. They bring it to Ratzinger, who was then
Uh oh.
Cardinal Ratzinger. Yep.
Uh
And
oh.
then he didn't do anything, so they went
I
right
know.
to J. Yep, they went right to JP2.
Yep.
He because Motorola was a huge benefactor for the Catholic Church.
Yep.
Yep. So he goes
Yep.
right into, and they did nothing. What they basically did is sent all the information back to then Cardinal Bernardine, who used it to destroy this lawyer and his family.
Right.
Now he was no common lawyer because he was the state's attorney here in
Yeah.
Chicago.
He probably did a
And
really good job, and they just ignored him the whole way up.
yeah, they did. They ignored him the whole way up.
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't even follow all the rules.
Oh, of course they didn't follow the rules.
When he
So
tried to report a
the canon,
it's
the canon
backwards.
rule, right? The canon law rules, and at that time, the papal nuncio was none other than Vigano, however you want to pronounce his name,
Right.
Archbishop Vigano. And so, all right. But to make a long story short, I find out about this, and my professor from Loyola University, and one of my majors was sociology and education. So I had two majors. He was satanically murdered. He was a homosexual organist that wanted to get out of supplying boys to the clergy, not only in Chicago but across the country.
That's insane.
I know.
Do you have
This
the
is how I get. This
do
is
you
how I
have the
got into this,
document?
Stephen.
Are there? I don't want the documents. Maybe I've been asking my questions to come off wrong, but is there like a paper trail for this whole thing, or somewhere to like connect the breadcrumbs?
Yeah, from high school. Yeah, oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you come to Chicago and visit Victoria, yeah, we could. Yeah. So anyway, so we get together with this lawyer, top top guys, and I was on TV. I was personally on TV across the country, public radio, national public radio, quoted in the New York Times, no truth, no money. So we had a campaign. You either clean up the sexual scandals. This is back in 1999, 2000.
I was 10 years old, man.
I know.
So,
I know. That's how long I've been in this business. That's how long I've been trying to.
well, that puts a
And
little reference. I appreciate the, so now we know where we're, like, I appreciate it. Thank you. So,
so
yes, I was around 10 at that time.
yeah, right. All right. So through that, then I was threatened. Then Cardinal George came along, and my son was on the youth board of directors. See, I started out just as a normal Catholic. What do I know? I'll send you my resume. I've started up several businesses that made tens of millions of dollars. I retired a multi-millionaire.
Oh, that's
I
pretty
have no.
good. You made some money?
I made a lot of money.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know what type of person I was speaking with. I just got
Yeah.
the phone call. She's like, I'm going to patch this guy in. I'm like, okay. You know what I
Yeah. No,
mean?
she's assuming she assumed that you knew a lot, and she didn't brief you properly. But that's part of her. And I don't say this critically, but I think she would probably admit this. You can talk to her about it because I was on the phone with her, talking to her when you called. That's why I said I got to take this call. I want to talk to Stephen because I just wanted to follow up on this so we can get to the bottom of where we think we could go. So
Is there a
that's part of,
plan to
but
go
that's
over?
part of her autism. That's part of her autism.
Is it?
Yes, her ability. She'll assume certain things that
I
that
believe
she
her,
thinks
though.
that you. Yeah, I know. But she thinks that you're supposed to know certain things. But how could you? Because she never told you about these things or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, she
It's
expects me to know things. But she thinks that because she has made, like, yeah, I understand. She's really quick to, like, throw out references. Is what I
yeah,
think is what you're getting at.
yeah.
But I mean, that's. But I
And,
think she
and
really
she,
wants to care. I think her big focus is the Catholic Church, and she's just trying to assemble the team. I think in her mind, she just wants to be able to snap her fingers and have the task force go. It's kind of how I think she thinks of it.
well, the way now let's go. Okay, so now you know how I got into this business through the back. Mary pulled me in. Our Lady pulled me into this fray, and I've met with all sorts of people all across the country. Been involved in this for the last 25 years.
So where are
Okay,
we?
so now Victoria, let me tell you this story because you'll say, "Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable." So Victoria wants to become a Catholic. She lives in our neighborhood up on the Ridge North Shore of Chicago, and she went to the local parish. I call it St. Faith Hope in Cadillac, but it's really St. Faith Hope in Charity up in Winnetka, Illinois. You'll see we live right there. And my wife brings her home one day,
Oh
Victoria,
wow,
because she comes from a Masonic family, a satanic Masonic family.
is that real though, or is that part of the autism, like you mentioned?
No, that's real. She comes from a satanic. I mean, they're not witches or warlocks, but it's just generational evil. I mean, if you know the Masons and you know the
Do
family
you feel
names, you
like
would.
she's supposed to like bear burden of that?
Excuse me?
I don't think she bears that burden though.
No, no, this is what I'm telling you. So she's being tutored now by this father, Paul Stem, who is a good friend of mine, who was a faithful priest at St. Faith Hope and Charity, and they don't have many faithful priests in Chicago. Let me tell you, they don't. But he was a new priest. He catechized her into the Catholic Church. Her family went berserk.
He can ignite, so she's like already in like on the way to be
She
saint. Like
no,
can
she
oh
I
can
call it. She was catechized. That means that she was brought. You know how they have that the process of you becoming a Catholic, and you got to.
but that's more than confirmed, right?
No, yeah. That when she
Canonized is
comes
the
in,
big thing. That
no
means you get to go to
catechize, no
canonize.
catechize, not canonized.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Cat, yeah,
Gotcha.
catechized, yeah,
Yeah.
catechized.
Well, it is a
to
big
become a
deal.
Catholic.
And then they
And
want
then she
to.
was baptized, and
And
she
then don't they want to
had
cut
her
her
first
off?
communion, and she went to confession, and so my wife meets her in a rosary group and brings her home because she knows that there's something wrong with the Novus Ordo, and she's heard something about the traditional Latin Mass.
Oh boy, sent her right from the pan to the fire, huh?
Yeah. So I take her under my wing, and I find out that she's dating this 55-year-old, she's 25 or something like that at that point.
She is.
She's dating this 55-year-old guy who happened to live right next door. This is how God works, Stephen. Right next door to my best friend who's gone to Mass and Communion with me to the Latin Mass, basically, for the last 25 years.
So are you in
Think
this?
of that.
Are you in the Society of Pious of Town?
No. So that's a whole other issue now. So we tell her that we're going to St. John Cantius in Chicago that has a Latin Mass, that we discovered this Latin Mass, and she should check it out. So she checks it out. She checks out the traditional Latin Mass, and she falls in love with it. Not the Novus Ordo Mass now.
Right.
But
No, the Latin one. The Latin one's intriguing. That one's the
Yeah, it
best
is.
type one there is,
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
So she, yeah,
But it's
I
a
agree.
culture thing.
Yep, I totally agree with you. So she falls in love with that, and now this is kind of, now her parents are thinking,
Uh-oh.
yeah, uh-oh is right.
Uh-oh. She's gonna
they
marry a
wanna-
Catholic.
Yeah, and this guy, the guy that she was dating now, the 55-year-old guy that was raping her or sleeping with her, whatever
What?
you want to call it, I call it raping her.
Well, I mean, she was of age.
Right
at this
next door to
point.
my best friend, right next door, whose parents were in Bell Laboratories, and they were bragging, his dad would brag about how he could tap into everybody's phone. And at one point in time, we thought for sure
He probably was.
that Victoria's phone was tapped by this guy.
I'm sure it
Because
is.
as she became more and more devoutly Catholic, he became more and more jealous because she started meeting some other young people her own age, and she started dating them from the youth groups of these various traditional Latin masses
Right.
that she was attending.
As she should. That's her proper.
As she should.
Right.
As
She's
she
living
should,
her
right?
life. If they don't want her, that's okay. Let her have the opportunity to start her own life. The rest of us
Exactly.
got it. We all
Right.
got that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I mean,
So we would meet with this. We would meet with this old codger. I mean, she has a picture of this guy when she was 5 years old, maybe 7, maybe even younger, 4 to 7. I'll say 4 to 7 years old. I saw the picture of him exposing herself. She's sitting at the edge of the pool, turning away from him in disgust
that's
or
crazy.
shock.
And it's just like her selfie. It's like one of her baby pictures that they gave her to like celebrate.
And her grandfather and her father were there smiling with this guy who was going to be her husband. They picked out her husband. This is all part of the Masonic elite. I don't know what you know or you don't know about this, Stephen, but believe me.
Well, we don't know what's true and not true about the Masonic elite. How can we have any
Yeah,
verified sources?
No. Yeah, we do. I've talked to victims. Yes, we do, Stephen. I'm telling you, it's.
But
yeah,
we don't know,
we know.
to what extent. Like we don't know if there's like aliens
No,
or
we know
underground
no,
cities.
we know it, Stephen. They're even I'll send you just a plethora of stuff. Goes right up into the Bush family, into the Clintons. It's horrific.
But what? Like,
oh my God!
But how do I know the difference between a flat Earth and these people really have something? It all sounds crazy now.
Because there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have come forth through this DARPA mind control elite. They call it sexual ritual abuse. Stephen, I'm giving you a crash course here.
That's terrifying.
It is terrifying. It is terrifying.
And what's really scary is that they do it to their own kids, so why wouldn't they do it to anybody else's?
That's correct.
And they really do it to their own kids.
Yes.
Which is like the worst part, because most people are sitting there still under the belief that like, no, we wouldn't do that to our own kids. So there's no way that they're just people. They have to be just people. And the thing is, they're the ones doing it.
Yep.
And that's crazy to
Okay.
have that like
Okay.
verified.
So then there's certain scandals that start to develop at the St. John campus, which does not only the Novus Ordo Mass, but does the Latin Mass as well. They found out that the pastor was involved in homosexuality, and so short story, she winds up leaving St. John campus and going to SSPX
Yep.
by default. Victoria.
Yeah, I know
By
that's
default now.
that's the only place they designed it, so that's the only place to go. But the SSPX are becoming more like they're already flopping. It's so funny.
So she, well, there's the FSPS, Fraternity of St. Peter's.
And they just
and
got
there's,
shut down by Pope Francis's motu proprio.
yep, and there's also the Institute of Christ the King.
They got shut down too.
Yeah, and so and then you have Pius X.
And they
Now,
go,
when she went to St. Pius, SSPX. So when she went to Our Lady Immaculate, which is just outside of Chicago, they had this pastor there called Father Purdy, and that was right during the lockdown.
oh
So
wow.
they weren't having masses anyway, but he defied SSPX and the city of Chicago and the Cardinal and would have private masses in his rectory.
Oh boy.
And,
Is this the mask mandate laws?
And the SSPX hated that. They hated it because he was faithful. He's like Father Hugo.
They
I don't know
had
if you
the
know him.
SSPX when they tried to shut that down. They still went to mass too here though, with no
Yeah,
mask
that's good.
on. They violated it here too. People
Good.
violated it everywhere in the country.
Good. Well, not everywhere because certainly the archdiocesan.
But Chicago's one of those places where you can't get away with things like that.
Yeah, the United States, the Catholic bishops all were united in the fact of shutting the whole thing down. But so anyway, that's how she winds up at SSPX. But then she finds out that SSPX has been infiltrated, and they have serious problems as well.
Very serious problems. And I thought that's where she was coming from information towards my way. So yes, of course they have problems.
Right, precisely. And get this, she probably told you the whole story about her being thrown out of SSPX.
I thought that's why we were going after Williamson in the first place. I didn't know this was about sexual violence. I thought it was about their right to freedom of speech. Like he violated her practice of religion. If she's not allowed to go to her, so that's the one that will stick. If she doesn't have the right to worship where she's allowed to worship, that they have to take that one seriously for her particularly. Like if I try to say that, that'd be silly. They're like, oh, they can do what they want. But if she goes in there and they really don't let her out and they make a scene, he will get famous and removed for putting his hands on a woman. It's not in his benefit to like go public with their feud. There's no reason for a priest to be feuding with Veronica. And I like to say Victoria. I like to use different names, just in, you know what I mean, because I hate like she is so. You know what I mean. You don't want to like just throw her name out there when I talk to people about things, but like for her in particular, the fact that a priest thinks that he could kick her out when she's the type of person we need there. We need this type of woman there in order to bring the rest of the Catholics together, or they are going to scatter.
Yeah, I agree.
And even if she gets cut off, if she gets cut off from her money, perfect. We should turn her on. If she gets cut off, I can't believe how rude it is of the SSPX. You have this woman who wants to set up her life in your like town, and you're going to tell her no? You're going to kick her out? Why? So you can diddle little boys? Is that what we're dealing with? Dude, he needs to go. Yeah. He needs to go.
But that's her issue. Went right up to the top of SSPX.
They're scared of her because they think she's either Masonic or she's worse. She's independent. If she's,
let me tell you,
you know what I mean?
The top guys at SSPX are Masons. They are Masonic.
They have to be, but she really likes that Williamson, and Williamson is just, he's obviously has to know stuff. He's
He
too
obviously must know stuff, right?
right. And she's like, well, that's the good. He tells everybody, if that's true, that's true, and then we'll keep it that way. But you know, like I don't. It's hard for me to think he's that close to whatever source of it is, and then be in hiding. If
Agreed.
he's in hiding, then she should be in hiding, and we should file for like a catacombs mass again.
Yeah, that's what it's going to come down to, Stephen. You're absolutely. That's exactly where it's going.
And see,
Because the
that's
good people. This is a all-out fight between Satan, the forces of good, versus the forces
and
of
she
evil.
feels that, but she's also looking for a husband. So she has her own
Yes.
agendas going on, but hers are admirable and as they should be. So
Yep.
I don't think they conflict with anything else that would need to happen.
No, I agree.
And if we get everything
Except,
else happen,
except, Stephen, you have to understand her family. Now think of this: generations of evil.
they're going to
Now
kill it.
she's breaking away, coming to the light and the sacraments of Christ.
We got to
And you
protect
don't
her.
think the devil? You're right. We got to protect her.
The devil's coming,
Yep.
and if it's
Now
not,
you're getting it, Stephen.
no,
Now you got.
right.
Now
I
you're
get
getting
that
it.
part, but like now it just becomes a matter of like, so why do we feel that we need to say that she's autistic? Can we just use a different word and say authentic? Well, I don't see why we have to put that
No,
label on her.
because there's. That's what I'm saying. You should come to Chicago.
I'm
There's
scared
certain-
of Chicago because your people might be able to kill me. I'm
No,
just
no,
kidding. But
no,
you make
they're
it
not.
seem like that.
No. But if you had certain documentation,
I
you
don't
could
have that
destroy.
kind. Yes, I have. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I
If you
apologize.
if you had the documentation to destroy SSPX, they would kill you.
One see the thing is that I got pretty close. I'm missing pieces, and you guys got some pieces. There's a way around it. And you know why there's a way? Because
Because
canon,
God wants this
right?
exposed.
It has
These are
been.
the end times.
This is time. So all we have to
Right.
do is fill our positions.
Yeah.
So I'm not. That's what keeps me going in it. Like, yeah, they might kill us, but if they do, then okay. Then I guess I had to die. I was gonna die of something anyways. I might as well be the dragon.
How old are you?
Um.
I'm 75, so I mean,
Oh my
I've
good.
been
Okay,
around.
yeah, I'm in the 35 round. I'm like 32.
Okay, good for you. All right, good. So it's always encouraging to me because I was a teacher before I got into Wall Street. So I taught honors history all the way down to second grade in the course of 3 or 4 years to try to figure out when kids stop learning. Because when you get to high school, you either are learning and you can incorporate ideas and think for yourself, or you just don't have it. So I was trying to figure out at what age do kids basically stop learning, or are inculcated with cultural values that won't let them go any further than they're at. So that was my foray into education. So and I dealt with all sorts of disabilities, learning disabilities. So that's sort of
Right. My only point with the disabilities is that we don't want to be labeling her as
No,
that.
I understand. I know that's
But
all
we do need to have an understanding that her emotions are a little skewed. But
No,
that
it's not her. It's not her emotions. It's not her emotions. She's got because of the. She will freely tell you this. The vaccines did it, and they're doing, and they did a tremendous damage to her.
I was about to say the vaccines. That's where I was leading with that. I was like, and most likely, but they vaccinated their own kids and had that problem. We're screwed. The whole thought is so. But if they hurt themselves, let me ask you this then: if they're hurting their own people, that their own what they would like Masonic
Their
whatever
own
they
children,
are,
their own children, right? Their own children.
then how are they competent enough to be a globalist?
Because that's what's been around for 2,000 years since Christ. There's always been.
I feel like there's a really easy way to replace them then.
No.
But they're going to get old and die.
Remember, Christ said that the prince of the world is Satan.
But they're going to get.
He controls this.
So it's not going to
This
matter.
kingdom down here.
You're
But
saying
no, you're right. It won't matter.
It won't
For
matter.
eternity, it's not going to matter.
That's
But
quite
right
depressing.
now, we got formidable foes.
It's quite depressing.
Well, don't get depressed because you're in the fight. So don't worry about that. Mary, Our Lady, and the sacraments. You know, I know you don't go to church because you've probably been hurt or, you know, whatever. But I do know your family is, because I've done a little research, I know your family is one of the key families at in St. Mary's.
They don't tell us that.
Well, they may not tell you that, but the Temples is a name that everybody knows.
Absolutely. I tried to tell.
Are you?
I
Are
never
you?
did.
Are you?
I am
Are
that
you
temple.
part of?
There's
Are you
only
part of
one
the?
temple family here. There's only one branch. It's just me.
That's you. That's you, right?
Everything you're hearing about it is just me.
I thought you. I thought you had. I thought you had parents.
No, it's my brothers. It's either me. You're either gonna hear about Dan Temple or Stephen Temple. Yeah, we're the only two temples like around. You might hear some about some others. There's 7 of us total, but like when you hear about temples from here, you're literally talking about like I'm the only one here.
Oh.
But I
No,
was
for some
boarding
reason,
school.
I thought you were involved in the SSPX though. I thought
Very.
some
We
one of the
are.
temples.
We are very involved. I was homeschooled through their homeschooling program from Florida
Yeah.
for from 2nd grade to like 8th, and then I went to their boarding school here in 9th grade, and then I graduated at public school again because let's just say it didn't work out very well here. It wasn't the right fit, but I've always had connections here.
Are you originally from Florida then, Stephen, or are you
Like
Kansas boy?
um, from what I know, I was born in Florida, and
Oh,
that's
good.
like where I like know about. That's what the documents say, like that I've seen.
Yeah.
But who knows what I don't know. It'd be hearsay for me to tell you. I was too young to remember.
Are your parents still alive?
We don't talk.
I know you're.
We're
Are you?
we're
So
disconnected.
are you kind of like the black sheep of the family?
Definitely. But I consider myself a horse in sheep's clothing. I don't really
Yeah.
think I'm a
Well,
sheep.
yeah, that's probably what they consider Victoria. That's probably what the Kellogg's consider Victoria.
I
She's
think
the
they would
black
be
sheep of the
very.
family.
I think they'd be very worried if someone tried to set her straight.
Yeah, well, that's what they are. So that's exactly what I'm telling you. That's why we have to protect her, because her family would like to cut her out of the will, have her committed, throw away the key. She's tried to commit suicide a number of times.
Well, we should deny that unless they're like super recorded. Anything deniable, we should deny.
Well, she'll admit it to you. I mean, she doesn't
I know
deny it to me.
then she would have to be like she'd
To
have to
protect her,
stop
yeah,
doing that.
to protect her.
Then she's
Yeah,
gonna say, "Well, I don't want to lie to people," but it's not lying not to tell them something they're gonna use against you
it's
later.
none, right. It's none of their business.
It's none,
It's what
right,
yeah.
right.
No.
No, I
agree
mean,
with
like,
you.
because there's no point, because we can't just go around saying, "Well, Victoria Kellogg said this and that." You know what I mean? That's gonna bring too much like
Yeah, that's what
heat
I'm
to
saying,
her.
and it could damage her reputation.
Well,
And
her reputation is that she's cut out. Right now, she's looking for a life vest. That's what she's doing, and she's really confused because like, how is she just supposed to be normal when everyone else is trying to like cut her out of the will for no reason?
Yeah.
That makes
Okay.
absolutely
now,
no sense.
now you're getting it. Exactly right. Now you're beginning to. Yep.
She's probably the most confused person because if you talk to the commander, they're going to say, well, you know, the heiresses take over, they're the leaders. And if you talk to them, they're like, I don't even know what's going on.
Yep.
So, like, how are we running the world? The answer is we're not. Oh, well, then
No.
then where are they? Oh, they're somewhere else. Oh my goodness, the plot just thickens.
Yeah. It's called the world, the flesh, and the devil.
So,
Is in
so
control.
even the top of families aren't really in control. It's so funny.
No. The top families have sold their souls to the devil.
They've perpetrated. They're like doing that to their own daughter. That's like worse.
I know. It's heartbreaking. It truly is. It's truly heartbreaking.
So then what?
All right,
So we just all go to church at our own house then. That seems to be the only conclusion.
no, there are faithful priests out there that, and I know you've met some that
But how could they possibly have
we
jurisdiction?
call them resistance or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what you call them.
Rogues at this point. They all preach
Yeah,
their own
probably
thing.
rogues, right?
So that just means that we're in the times of the catechumens, that we can practice underground, and we get the special dispensations.
Well, we're trying to find priests that will go underground because it's not that easy,
It's not easy because who's going to pay for it?
Exactly. Father Hugo, left because of all the
They,
scandals that he knew about in SSPX.
but now he needs
And
a patron like family to fund him.
well, he's found that, but it's difficult. Everything is difficult. It's just then you had the lockdown where they couldn't travel because he had a constituency all across the country. He would travel from, if you will, town to town, saying mass, and sometimes not be able to get back to people for 2 or 3 months. And then in the meantime, these people would go not receive the sacraments for 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, oh man,
Well,
you guys got to do a better job of finding faithful priests than waiting for a guy to come around every 3 months.
well, here's the thing. So there's people who are like elderly in their own community here in SSPX, and they have like 20 priests up there, and they won't do home visits. And I think that's just absolute ludicrous when you have like making like old people and like disabled people get to church just to get to their like sacraments when y'all could easily just make it part of y'all's walk
Totally agree with you.
around your town.
I totally agree with you.
Like they should be patrolling the streets, like making sure everyone's blessed.
I totally agree with
I don't
you.
know why they get to eat and be fat and do no work.
I totally agree with
And
you.
then they want to sit here and build a $50 million church, ask everybody else for money, and not touch a single stone. They don't do any of the work, none of it. You guys didn't touch a single shovel, huh? Like that's just asinine to me.
And you know that Victoria and I don't know if she told you this, but we did research on that with some other people and sent the top people at SSPX all the way to the top, the Masonic symbolism in the new church.
It's on the Mary. First, they're putting as gold Mary when she should be silver, and so they're her hands. They gave a special thing about explaining that it means Trinity. But if you look their art research about the way they're doing her hands, they even announced it to us. They gave it to us in a pamphlet. They even told us that they tried to trick us. Because that's not the explanation. The explanation is that there is no connection, and that only the Masons know about it. That's the one you'll find. I took 3 hours to find nothing about her symbols of her hands. They put her in gold, and then gave her a Masonic hand symbol, and then had the audacity to tell us the hand symbol meant something that doesn't exist even in the rumor wheels, like of conspiracy theories. Just pull something right out of your butt.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, certain priests have been
right, but we can't.
raped.
So is the
Certain
idea?
people, wait a minute, wait. Let me just finish this.
Yes.
Certain of these priests have raped kids, even perhaps drove them to suicide.
My
or
cousins are
murdered
part
kids.
of them. That's where my stories come from. Is my cousins. Like I was homeschooled, so I was raised normal while having the education and faith. I didn't get any of the hands-on touching from the priests. I was homeschooled through it, so I have all their information. You know what I mean? I was raised them. I am them, like you said in your research. However, they don't consider me one of them because I was never like really here. I was only active through the mail.
Yeah. So what they've done then is they have
There are these
hundreds
boys.
and hundreds of millions of dollars. They sued the parents involved in these atrocities, given them hush money, and told them to shut up and go away.
Right. So they either got paid off.
Gag orders. They got paid off, and they have gag orders too.
Right,
That
and they
means
can't
if
talk
open
about
their
it.
mouth, yeah.
That's
They
all
can't talk
because
about
they
it.
signed the wrong documents. They weren't brave enough to stand up because if they did, they'd lose their house. Their kids couldn't go to school. It would be done.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
under duress, and like they just buckle them.
Right.
But then they find that people like. So the reason why I'm known is because I don't buckle like that. Like when they start applying that pressure, we just apply it right back. They can't just come in and shoot us. I mean, they can, but then they have to clean that whole mess up. It's more. It costs them a lot of money to do something like that.
But to protect their infiltrated evil,
So we should
Don't
just we need to just leave the SSPX alone then, and just get whoever comes
Yeah.
to the. Then we need to get I don't see how we can go back. I just don't see the direction if we don't have a way to hold any of these people accountable.
Yeah.
We're not losing for lack of proof, is my point. And you're not going to get that proof because the people that are the victims are brain programmed. It's almost like you're going to have to
Yes.
go after them like to be a cult and then do a whole clean out and only keep like one or two. And it's like you have to get their 501c3 rejected. If we're going to do something, we need to file against their 501c3 and make a tort claim against them.
But Stephen, think of this now. I mean, you're smart enough to figure this out. All the courts, right up to the Supreme
Are
Court,
on their turn, yes.
they're all Masons. They've all
Yes,
taken blood oaths to the devil.
of course.
Not all of them, but the top judges, like Roberts. This will blow your mind. This is what a small world it is, okay? My brother-in-laws, my wife's family, all of her brothers went to school with John Roberts, the Supreme Court Justice.
That's awesome. They should be able to
And
write him a
La
letter.
Laverne. They, and you know what he was when he was in high school? A flaming faggot.
Well, we kind of already knew that. Like, I don't know if they we. So do as our. I don't know if the Catholic official opinion about gays is hatred or if it's more of just like can't be around us.
Well, all I know
I
is
think
that
it's. I don't think we should
he
be like.
gets married. He gets married. He tries to. He's a total hypocrite. It never comes out, but he's a flaming fag. And he is
This is what he
appointed by
is.
Bush, the Bush family, and the Bushes were GW, the younger, and his father were homosexuals, sodomite, evil, raping kids. The Franklin cover-up is documented where there was a Senate and House investigation. It led right into old man Bush's White House. They were shipping kids from Boys Town to the White House to be raped.
That's crazy.
No, it's evil.
Yeah, you're right. It's evil. It's evil. But like, how much of that can we actually like interfere with? Any of it?
Well, but so I'm going back to this. So when you say you have to get rid of their 501c3, you can't
But
because they're
or can
all
we?
in on it. They're
But,
all in on it,
so
Stephen.
then, who are we going to? So what's the point of like? So that's
Okay,
my
so
point.
now okay, now you start to okay. So now, whatever we do, we know that they hate two things. The devil hates two things. He hates the truth, which is the publicity. They consider it bad publicity because you're presenting the truth and the light to a situation, and they hate being sued, the money. So
That's
it's
what
all
I'm
for them.
saying.
It's all about their money and their reputations
So
because
we,
they're trying to fool everybody.
so why don't we file? Maybe I'm saying something you've done before. Maybe there was a reason and I just didn't hear it. But wouldn't a tort claim be like the first step then?
Well, always it starts with the victim, and like you
They won't
pointed
come.
out,
They're not going to come out.
you're right, and yet some have, and that's why I said we've
Enough
collected
have. Enough have.
enough have, and
For
you know what
like
the
a.
payouts have been? Not just from SSPX, but you know the total, just in the United States alone, you know what the payouts have been to victims, etc.
For the SS.
$4 billion.
See, that's crazy. That's
Four
evil.
billion
But
dollars.
that's $4 billion worth of buy-offs that people decided that they would rather communion rather than pedophilia. Like they are picking pedophilia just so that way they can get their communion. That is why they're making that choice then. Because the
Well,
money, the
I'm
Vatican
I
only
don't.
gets the money. SSPX only gets the money to buy off this evil from the people that they're victims.
I know. It's absolutely crazy. Okay,
So
so
that means
now,
they're choosing it.
so now, and you asked for, what's the proof of all this? Okay, so now, my wife was the secretary. See, this is how God works, Stephen. My wife is the secretary to the lieutenant governor of Illinois' brother, who ran the Catholic Lawyers Legal Guild in
Right.
all of Chicago.
I
And
would.
he represented the Cardinal's office, Cardinal George. So Cardinal George asked him, this is in the year 2002 or something like that, when all this stuff, when I was on TV and everything, can you head up a task force to interview, go from parish to parish? I mean, this involved hundreds, thousands of lawyers, and find out all the victims, gather the information, and get it to my attention, Cardinal George now, give it to my attention, and we'll get to the bottom of this. So for the next 6 months to a year, task force went from parish to parish. They got tens of thousands of victims in the Archdiocese of Chicago.
This has already happened back in like when you were on like that,
2002.
When I'm 12.
2002. Now my wife is the secretary.
12. Oh my goodness, this has already happened. So why? Okay, keep going. I'm gonna let you finish your story. It's fascinating.
So 2002. All right. So they gather all this information. It comes into David Hartigan is his name. David Hartigan is his name. You can look it up. It's all public record. And my wife is the secretary. And so they're filing all this stuff under, this is child abuse.
Right.
This was raping children. This was, every
federal
every category.
Stamps, signatures, the works.
Yeah, yep. So they got all documented with lawyers and, affidavits, the whole shoot match.
Sealed, signed, notarized,
tied, signed, notarized, the whole deal.
Oh my goodness!
And we're talking about like a 12-foot office by 10-foot office filled with legal boxes. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Right, it'd be mountains because computers aren't even the way they are now back then.
Exactly.
It'd be mountains.
It was mountains and mountains of information. So we had, and the cardinal says, bring them all over to my office.
Lights them on fire.
At that point in time, we're not really privy to. I mean, we know that there's something wrong, but we don't know the depth, or at least I didn't know, nor did my wife, nor did this lawyer, know the depth of the depravity.
Right, it's the top.
That existed. And that's right around the time when my professor was satanically murdered a couple years before under Bernardine.
That's a bold
Bernardine
claim.
had him killed. Bernardine had him killed. My professor, the organist.
So what if we do a
the boys club?
Did we do a documentary yet?
Well, that's interesting. You get nobody to produce it, but okay. You know what Mel Gibson had to go through just to put out the Passion of the Christ. I mean,
They kept Mel Gibson from joining the SSPX because they were scared of him too. The year I went to boarding school, his son was supposed to come, but they said that they wasn't allowed because he would cause too much of a ruckus. He'd Braveheart them.
Yeah, Braveheart. Right. It was Braveheart.
They weren't Catholic enough to keep up with Mel Gibson.
So he takes all the information, the cardinal takes all these boxes of information and destroys them.
I thought so. He burned them, huh?
I knew you'd know that. I knew you would know that. I knew.
That has to be the only. That's the only
conclusion.
Right. That's the only conclusion because I should have been 12 years old when we went ding dong, the witch is dead, the wicked witch, witch old witch. You know what I mean? We should have been celebrating at that point.
Yep.
But so the documents obviously got burned.
This lawyer was quoted all across the country as to the scandals. He said it was worse than a fraternity of boys, trading whores back and forth from room to room, because they would cover up the priests and they would move this priest to another parish where he would commit the same atrocities to the unsuspecting parishioners. I mean, it was horrific. And so guess what happened to him? They fired him. They tried to ruin his career.
Of course. So where are we going? So what are we going to do differently so we don't do insanity? We can't do the same thing again.
That's right.
We have to learn from the past and figure out the strategy forward. If there is no strategy, we go underground.
Right. But there is a strategy, but and even if you get, now this is the real tragedy, if you get a victim to come forward so that we can sue the living daylights out of whoever is involved here, because it's just not SSPX, it's the Jesuits, it's the Franciscans, it's all of them, right? The Dominicans, they've all been infiltrated is the word that Michael Rose used when he said a few good men when he wrote that there were no good men coming in the seminaries anymore because the screening board would take any real man and say, well, you can't be a priest because you're homophobic or whatever.
Oh
So
my
that was
goodness.
Michael Rose back in 2010 wrote this book, and then right now we have this guy. I don't know, you may have heard of him because he's in Texas. He's Taylor Marshall. He's a convert. Dr. Taylor Marshall is a convert, and
He has a YouTube, doesn't he?
He has a what?
Does he have a YouTube presence?
Yeah.
Is he
He's
that
on
guy with
YouTube
the
all
dark
the time.
hair? I've never met him. I don't know him. I only seen him on like images of stuff. He does have a good
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, he does have a good show, and he's all over. Like Archbishop Vigano is all over the truth now, because he fell for it too. Remember, he was a papal nuncio in on the whole charade.
Yeah,
He knows.
I found him when I was looking up that Motu Proprios to get other people's opinions. He was one of them I looked at.
Yeah, he's a truth teller.
But how
And they hate him.
But he
They
can't.
want to kill him.
Right.
He's in hiding. They want.
He's underground. So that's the answer. The answer's underground. That's where I've been. I thought we were gonna go out and like try to take try to move bishops and stuff. I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
I don't think so. I don't think there's really a way to do it.
Well, the only way, remember, if we can get a victim, let's go back this now. If we can get a victim to come forward.
I feel like we have that. We've done that route before. That happened.
Yes, we have. You're right.
So
And
how
what
are they going
happens
to trust
is
you this
We
time?
get money, we get the publicity, but you know what happens to the victim? 9 times out of, I'd say 95% of the victims wind up losing their faith and being re-victimized.
By someone else on the other side.
No, what happens is there's always people that say, "Oh, that can't happen. Father couldn't have done that to this, poor child. Oh no, that's just a bunch of lies." So when they're trying to tell the truth, even though the church has been documented, certified,
Right.
people are in jail, doesn't matter, they're re-victimized. The
Yes.
victim becomes re-victimized and they lose their faith.
You can't go back to the same church you accused the priest of touching you at.
Exactly.
Like, that just doesn't make sense.
And especially if he's still there, flaunting it right in your face.
Right.
I mean, it's really
That's a
evil.
huge problem that the Catholics are facing.
It's a huge evil. Well, this is the great apostasy. It's in Scripture.
But that's why I can't go
apostasy
to
is
church
right now.
because I feel like I can sense that they know I wouldn't tolerate their games. That's why I can't go to church.
But Stephen, that's exactly why you have to receive the sacraments from a faithful priest.
None of those priests are faithful.
Oh, well, you got to find one.
They can't
Seriously.
because none of them can prove jurisdiction.
Well, you got to find a way to get the sacraments, Stephen.
I don't
Because
even I
I'll
don't
tell you
even
why.
know if
Wait,
you
wait,
have a way
wait,
to
wait,
do
wait.
that.
Yeah, I do. I'll tell you why you have to do this. You have to do this because Christ predicted that this would happen. And you need the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ to be a warrior. That's what you need. You don't need. Satan wants you to give up and move away and lose hope and not receive his body, blood, soul, and divinity.
But
And I
none
know
of,
you're smart enough to think that through for a second. And you say, "You're right."
but
he
none of
wants
the
me.
priests. Yes, he does, but none of the priests can prove that they're valid. If
Okay,
I don't
but-
know if the Pope is valid, I don't know if the Cardinal's valid. I don't know if the Bishop's valid. I don't know if the priest is valid.
But
Then how am I
Stephen,
supposed to
Stephen,
know if
but
anyone's valid?
I know, I agree with you, but Stephen, the gates of hell will not prevail.
They can't prevail, but that must mean that the church has to have gone underground,
Yeah.
which means
And
that
there's-
it's an underground priest.
And you can't find a priest that talks our language. You can do it.
Right, but they don't want to do house visits and stuff.
Well,
That's the
that's
issue.
true. That's true, but you still can receive the sacraments.
So my desire to, it's not, since we're underground, don't I get put in the category of like that would get excused then. There's no way that could be held against me. I got confirmed.
I don't know.
I got
if you're-
confirmed. I'm pretty sure as long as I'm not in the state of mortal sin, I'm supposed to have like the blessings. Are you
But
saying
you-
my
but you-
confirmation was invalid?
No, I'm saying that you can find a faithful priest to give you the sacraments.
That they
You
don't
go to
exist.
confession.
They won't
You
talk
go
to
to
me. They won't. They won't because they will deny that all these other churches are doing the gross stuff. So they don't have. So where did they get the authority from? If they didn't get it from Rome,
they did get it from Rome.
well, Rome is the one. The people acting in Rome are the ones doing the problem.
I know, but
So they had to make a deal that
just because
you would
you're a
accept
sinner,
pedophilia for the sake of communion. I can't do
no,
that.
you're not accepting pedophilia. This is a straw. You're setting up a straw man argument here. But anyway, but let's just we don't have to continue this, but let's just suffice it to say that you agree with me that we all need the sacraments, but we need it from faithful people. That's all.
Well, the faithful
We
people
agree.
need to get it from the authority of the church.
Well, that's the issue. But we don't get sidetracked. Just we
Jurisdiction
need the sacraments.
is the number
We gotta
one
find
issue.
whether it's underground. Probably it's going underground because it's exactly what's going to happen.
That has
The
to
Pope
happen.
is going to come out and ban the traditional Latin Mass, not only in SSPX. SSPX will go along with it. You mark my words, they will go along with banning the Latin Mass.
They will. The first, they're going to have two masses. They're going to build this big church and get everyone used to the idea of having one English Mass. And then slowly by the next 50 years, it's gone. Every 10 years, they'll take your Latin Mass away. That's what they just did.
Yep.
That was their first strategy. And SSPX is the only one right now that's allowed to do the Latin Mass. And that should be suspicious.
They're not going to be allowed to do it, and they've already made major concessions.
So that's done. They've been pressed. I would love to see their negotiations with the Vatican. That type of stuff would make me so excited. Because you know it's happening. I would love to see the backroom deals that these people who claim to be on the front lines are actually making.
Yeah, they're selling us out.
So there's no way I would trust one of their priests or bishops. Their whole seminary, I have family members who went to their seminary and tried to be. When you say I gotta find their priests and bishops, I know most of them. And what they've done to like scandals to their own kind that are priests or bishops that try to stop it. They run them all out. And then they can't get jobs in their own town, so they have to move away from their family. And then their family gives them up because there's a whole church thing, so we can't go to, funerals or weddings together because the family doesn't get along because of something these priests said. They have no bearing on the truth.
I know. It's
convoluted.
Satanic. It's satanic. Think of it. It's satanic. Just call it what it is. It's satanic.
But at one point you had mentioned that you did some like filings with some people. I would love to be some sort of like I can really good with like documents. Like it is one of the things like however you guys want it.
I mean
I can design I can
you
do
could
it.
We could present a lawsuit in your name against SSPX.
That's SSPX. That'd be sweet. If it could get backed up I'd be squashed by myself. I would be honored to be, but I can't say that they ever raped me. I never got raped.
But they've driven.
No, but I know what they're doing.
Conspiracy to drive you out of the church.
And town. They cut my tree down. I have a lawsuit with the city now because they've been harassing me ever since I made a single YouTube video talking about like just saying stuff.
Yeah. Well,
like I have documented them harassing me. Oh, if you guys want to do a civil rights violations, we can work on that one. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. So we'll pray about this, and we'll figure out a way to. I'll introduce you to. I mean, if you're willing to, if you think about this, I want you to at least pray about it. Think if that's what you want to do, we can certainly, because you can sue anybody for anything at any point in time.
As long as it gets backed up.
Well, yeah, but the backup is your testimony. That's all we need.
Well, I mean, technically, I can't go practice my faith because they're changing it, but I don't think that's going to be heard like that. Like, I think we're going to have to get him on something.
It doesn't matter because in the discovery, you're going to point out that this bishop did that, and this priest said that, and, and there's victims over here. And,
oh my goodness!
And, you know what I mean?
I'm just going to be. See, if I was just the so when you have a tort claim and there's multiple like ones, They only speak to one party of that person, of that group. We don't talk to all of them individually. But you know what I mean? Like
No,
that would like
no, but
there's a
you
representative.
presenting, but in your testimony, first off, they're going to try to destroy it, but they're already trying to destroy it.
Yeah, I know. That's
But
why
in
it's
your
no sweat.
testimony, you're going to go after these guys, and you're going to point out the truth.
Yes.
And these guys are going to be reeling because it's
Yes.
going to get national coverage.
Yes. Especially if we could drop a couple like yes, if it gets national, so that's the answer. The answer is publicity.
And then all sorts of people will be coming to you, Stephen, just
Also,
saying, Stephen, the same thing happened to me. I was raped, blah, blah, blah. They gave me hush money. You're going to be like, well, here's another case.
right, and then we just add it, and then they settle it. But then we're just taking the money from the settlement. What we really want is for them to just get out of our towns.
Well, they will. Believe me.
Like we really, she
the
just wants.
publicity will
She can't
force
go
them out
back
of the
to
towns.
right. She can't go back to church. So what if we got like a bunch of people to stand outside that church like they did, and just like, yo ho, Williamson's got to go. Or not Williamson. Which one are we doing? McMahon. McMahon's got to go. Like yo ho, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if that would even work, but we'd have a better shot with that than dealing with the sneaky way.
Yeah, well, we're not dealing the sneaky way. We're going to give them the bad publicity, which hurts them, and we're going to sue them for the money. Those are the two issues.
Right. We just need to file a claim.
And in the meantime, we're going underground.
In the meantime, go underground. Yeah, of course. I can agree with those things.
So that's the.
It just depends on where we're filing the suit. And so when we do a media thing, when it's time to get cameras and bodies somewhere, I could get a couple people to show up.
Oh, don't even worry about that. If we get Jim Anderson, if you do any research on Jim Anderson, he can get national attention. He will represent you in this case, and we will go for tens of millions of dollars.
So what are...
And you can just say, hey, I don't want the money. I'm going to give the money to
the charity.
Or,
and that's all I want.
Whatever.
I don't want the
money.
money.
And everybody's going to say, wow, this guy's a saint.
Right, I don't want the money.
Yeah, he is a saint.
Yeah, I just want my own... I will get my own money. I just want that to end.
Yep.
I just feel like, like that, I just don't want them around my town.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they're trading children in front of my face and flaunting at me. And
And
I'm a property owner. And I live here. And they're like hiding kids in secret tunnels. And we're going to let that happen for 25, 30 years? Like, are you kidding me?
I agree.
Are you kidding me? That's wrong. They got to get stopped. I should take their whole church. Just for their crimes. Their crimes against the community that I've been a part of, my people, is so severe that they should get redistributed. All of their stuff they got in there should just, and the land, just redistribute it to everybody. Sell it, give it all to almost the whole town. Like, even the people they didn't directly affect, because they had put people, because they raped them, they made an entire town hate. Like, the level of, you know what I mean? They can't succeed anymore. Because they were all, because this town doesn't let you. They cut down my tree because they say, oh, it's getting in the wires, but it's not in the wires for another 10 years. While there's trees everywhere else, literally growing in the wires. Like, they just want me only because I told them to stop a couple times.
Yep.
I was like,
that's the way it works.
Because I'm not going to, if you act creepy around me, then I tell you to stop.
Right.
If I see something, I say something. If I see a priest around one of these towns with these kids, I stop and make sure to go shake their hands, even though I don't like them like that. Like, you know what I mean? Just so they know that I have seen them. And not to threaten them or think anything ill of them, but every observer changes stuff. But here they are, trading the kids all around. Somebody needs to go take their castle. They don't deserve to sit up here in a $50 million, penthouse living off of their prey like this.
That's right.
And I can't have evil just around me like this.
Yeah, you're right.
So, all right, I think we had a great talk. I think you know where I'm coming from now.
Yep, you're on fire, Stephen, and that's why we got to protect you as well.
Absolutely. That's where the anonymous came, but I think that may have came off too strong. I'm glad we got all that figured out. I think we had a great. I think we worked it out. At least where we're coming from.
We're going forward. We're on a firm footing because we agree.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
God bless you, boy.
Bye.
Great talking to you.
All right. Have a good one. Bye. Yeah.